Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy, back with another video. Today we're looking at Diablo 2 Resurrected. This is the PTR, it is patch 2.4. So these details are subject to change. They're only going to get better, I think. I don't see the changes that we're going to talk about today being nerfed. And the changes we're going to talk about are actually going to be the skeletal mages. I've played through the game on normal. This is basically a guide on how to get through normal with the skeleton mages, talk about the pros and cons of using them, talk about maybe going off into the next couple of difficulties, my overall thoughts, just basically as a casual player, trying to take a necromancer through the game. If that sounds interesting, then do stick around. As always, guys, a thumbs up helps out a bunch, and drop me a comment. Are you interested in playing Necro next season for Diablo 2 Resurrected? I kind of am. It looks at the moment, I think, like the wizard with the Hydra is probably what I would start with, but Necro is always fun. So let's have a little look-see. So the changes that they made to the Necro mages basically are that they have made them do more damage and they've made them tankier, basically. Now I was hoping, and I will put some game footage up in the background at various points of this, I was hoping that because the way that the skeletal mage synergizes with skeleton mastery, that we could put points into this and then it would basically make the minions so tough that actually what would happen is they'd be able to not get completely one-shot and obliterated by bosses, basically. Now, going through the game, the mages and summons, necros in general, particularly with the new mages, is a very, very odd experience. So for 90% of it, maybe even 95%, it's super easy. Barely an inconvenience if you like screen rant punts. The reason is you don't really need anything on your character. You don't need any faster cast rate. You don't need any mana. You don't need any attack rating. So basically, you can just look to try and pick up skills that are beneficial, and then the rest of it, you're just absolutely stacking defensive stuff. So you can max out your resistances as you get sort of towards the end of normal difficulty. You can stack vitality. You can stack replenish life, basically anything to make you tougher. So your character actually is going to be pretty tanky because again, you're only really going to put points into strength up to 25. The only reason for that is to use a belt that has got 12 potion slots. So if that's something that you don't want to do, you could just not put anything into strength. I would recommend 25 though. Nothing into dexterity, nothing into energy, as always with Diablo 2 it seems to be, and then just a whole bunch of points into vitality. So you've got yourself a big life pool. You've got decent resists, and then also the fact that you've got this like army of skeletons. Like, I think I'm not at max at the moment. I think we could maybe do one more skeleton with the current skills. Let's have a little look. Yeah, max 4. So even early on at like level 30, we can have an army of like, I don't know, 10 things, and what this will do is they'll just act as a meat shield. They'll absorb a lot of projectile damage. Necro is probably one of the squishier classes in the game, but because these guys just absorb a lot of damage, it hits them, it doesn't hit you. It can be a very easy build to play through. Now, where it really falls apart and where it becomes difficult, particularly in normal, is because the minions literally fall apart when you get to a boss. Now, when we did fight Andariel, which obviously was very early, we did have some points in skeleton mastery. She didn't quite obliterate them in Act 1, but she put them down pretty quick. You'll see from the footage that we were raising them back up. That problem gets worse as the game goes on, and basically by the time you get to Diablo, by the time you get to Baal, they will just completely blow apart your army like it is made of toothpicks. This is where the golem comes in. Now, as it happens, I've actually got a offhand that's got 3 to blood golem. You don't have to do blood golem, you can do clay golem, and basically you pair this with the curse, which is Iron Maiden, and this does a reflect damage. So to kill Diablo, to kill Baal, it's very boring, it takes a long time, it's quite hard. A view of It does take a bit of determination to get through. Fortunately, we do have the tankiness, I think, to not get one shot, because otherwise that would be super frustrating. But all you have to do is pop your golem down and then make sure that you're getting Iron Maiden up on Diablo, Baal, Duriel, whoever it is, and they will reflect damage, kill themselves after a period of time.
2 hours later.
They'll never doubt my skills.
Can take 10 minutes, can take 15 minutes to do Baal. It took me quite a bit of time to do Diablo. Don't worry about it. You can do it. It is just a bit clunky and a bit of a pain. That sounds like I'm being quite harsh on the build, but let's talk about some of the advantages. Now, if you have ever played through Summon Necro beforehand on normal, early difficulties, or just in the game in general, as I say, it is pretty easy for like 90% of it, but you do get to these certain points where it becomes really difficult. So things like where you get to corridors, where you can only fit one kind of unit along it, so there's only one enemy and there's only one minion, the maggot layer, things like that, basically where you're at a choke point. Normally speaking, if you're just relying on the skeletons, it can be very difficult because they'll just stand there, they'll attack, particularly if you're fighting an enemy that's got like a cold mod on it. It'll slow their attack speed down, and you're just waiting for them to like eventually kill what's in front of them and you move forward. The mages really improve this because provided they're in line of sight, they will fire down the corridor for you, so getting stuck is a lot less punishing, I think, than on the traditional just playing through the skeletal mages. Another advantage of the mages, not so much for normal, because you don't get many immunities, but they do different damage types. So this one here has got lightning. We've got one over here for fire. This guy looks like he's got cold. There is also poison. It just seems to me that it's totally lucky dip as to what you get, but moving forwards into Nightmare and into Hell, that's really handy because it means we've got different damage types, so we don't have to sweat any immunities. I guess we'll talk through the skill tree, talk about the points we've put, and kind of the order that we're putting them in. So to start off with, you're going to probably do Raised Skeleton. Now, you can just do a straight up mage build. You don't get this, I think, until like level 6 maybe. So you could put points into Skeleton Mastery and then do into the mage. What I did find is the first mage that we got was pretty weak. Would get blown apart pretty easily, even just by general mobs. And I quite like having 3 or 4 skeletons. Again, they're a bit of a meat shield. You can pair them with amplified damage as a curse, so they will do a decent amount of damage for you anyway. And as I say, this is how we used to play it, just with the raised skeleton. So I've put some points into here, 6 points. We've got 1 extra from the gear that we've got. They'll run off, they'll block. These will be the minions that die the most because they are kind of at the front line. We've put some points into Skeleton Mastery. We've gone for 8. We've got another 3 from gear. This basically gives us extra life, extra damage on our skeletons. It gives extra life, and it is the way of actually improving the damage on the mages. So when you put more points into Skeletal Mage, Raised Skeletal Mage, you don't actually get more damage. You basically just get more toughness on them and more mages. So the more you put into this, the more mages you can have. So we're up to 6. We've got 10 points invested and 12 with the gear. So yeah, a nice balance between the two I think is pretty good. 1 single point in Clay Golem will do you. You don't really need any more. As I say, from gear, we've got some onto Blood Golem just because it's the best offhand I've found. The Blood Golem does have a self-sustain, so he will hit, he will give you a little bit of life. It's barely noticeable, so definitely not worth sweating. We then also come down to Golem Mastery, just to buff up this guy's life so that he's not dying. Again, he's at the front with the skeleton, so he will die quite a bit. Does look pretty cool. I do like the look of the Blood Golem. He's running off, he's scared, guys. And then we're going to do Summon Resist, which basically buffs up the all res of our summons, and this does really make a big difference to their survivability. As in, not enough for bosses, but in general content, it is pretty good. At some point, you definitely want to be picking up a point in amplified damage, particularly if you're going to put some points into skeleton, because they do physical, so does the golem, so that is helpful. And then Iron Maiden is pretty much a must. I don't even think you could beat normal without Iron Maiden, because without the golem and the reflect damage, I just can't see how you would do it. It would take you hours to repeatedly summon your minions just to get them blown apart. So an absolute must. It looks like we've got picked up a few other things from items. I'm working my way down to lower resist, because obviously going to move up to nightmare, and that is going to be where I'm headed. So I've got to come down here and pick up these other curses. Decrepify, I think, would probably be pretty good for Bale, but I didn't get there with the points by that time. And lower resist, obviously, when we move up to nightmare, we do get some ability to reduce the resist of monsters, and then the mages can hit a little bit harder. As for poison and bone, what I would say is it is worth putting a point in teeth, and it is worth putting a point in corpse explosion. Corpse explosion just speeds things up, so you've only really kind of got to get to 1 kill. You can then pop your corpse explosion, and it'll normally take out another monster. You do need to be a little careful with this early on, because it does cost a lot of mana, and until you level up and get some extra mana points, it's a bit thirsty. So I would probably concentrate first off on the skeleton army. If, let's say, you do want to go for the corpse explosion early, because I think, again, you can get that fairly early on into the playthrough, again, you might want to maybe think a bit more about some mana options on gear. I probably wouldn't put any of the skill points into it, the leveling points as you go, but you certainly could do. Now, we really didn't find much going through the game. I've got a wand with 2 to skeleton mastery. I use this for ages. It's not great. Obviously, you'd like skeletal mage on here. You'd like race skeleton on here, but we just didn't find one. It just was how it went. For the chest plate, we used stealth for a while for the faster run walk, so you can craft that yourself. We still got it, yeah. So we use this for quite a bit. It gives us a bit of mana regen, so poison resist, a bit of magic damage reduced. Standard classical. You can craft this yourself. In the end, I just dropped it because we don't really need the faster cast rate. The faster hit recovery is not very impactful because we're not getting hit that often, because we've got the army. So I just ended up swapping to just 2 Ral runes just to boost up the fire resist through like Acts 3, 4 and 5. For the helm, it took a while for us to be able to get up to level 27, and we slap a lore helm on. Ort Sol, pretty cheap rune words, 1 to all skills, lightning resist, damage reduction, mana per kill, and a bit of energy, which is great. Offhand wise, again, this is not a very good one. I was running something even worse than this for pretty much most of the playthrough. It is hard. You have to find yourself one of these pretty much. You can try and upgrade in the cube and stuff like that, but if you're just going with what you find, 3 to blood golem, I've taken it. 1 to confuse, but it's got +1 raise skeleton mage. So that's about the only useful thing on here. So definitely could have found a better one of those. Boots, absolutely no luck at all. 10% faster hit recovery, that is it. For the rings, a lightning resist ring, again, really basic. And then the belt, I tend to use my first imbue on this. So once you go through the jailer quest in Act 1, Chelsea will imbue something. I tend to always go for a belt because I just figure I'm going to be using this probably for quite a while, and you can get some decent stuff. So we got faster hit recovery, life, replenish life, bit of fire res, and a bit of mana. Ring, faster cast rate, a bit of energy, bit of mana per kill, and 8% magic find. Again, could be improved. And then the gloves, we just found a pair of death hand leather gloves, so poison resist 50%, kind of nice, and poison length reduced 75%, again, pretty good. But none of these gear pieces are essential. You could easily find yourself better gear. I would consider this a pretty unlucky playthrough, but as I say, it is what it is. Amulet wise, again, we found a Vidala snare, so we've got 15 to life and 20 Colras. So again, nothing special. Charms wise, just a bit of mana, a bit of life, just whatever we found, a little bit of reses and stuff like that. So absolutely super easy to play through, apart from the final bosses, which are quite difficult. Right, I think that's probably covered everything that I wanted to talk about. In Nightmare, it is going to get better. Well, I'll tell you what, we should probably have a little chat about the mercenary. He's dead, unfortunately, because it just took so long for us to beat Bale. The mercenary, again, had absolutely nothing on him. We just shoved some poison damage into his weapon. Just the best chest that we found for him, just something defense-based, and then some life in the helm. So again, absolutely nothing on him. Went for the Defiance, just the defensive aura, to help with the defense. Again, you know, once we do get to the next act, once I start playing through it, it will open up. We'll be able to pick the Might aura. We'll be able to get some crushing blow at some point, and he'll be very, very useful for us moving forward. But yeah, just try and get the resists high. You know, bit of life, bit of damage. You know, still very helpful. Only the boss fights, the only thing with any difficulty, the boss fights. The rest of it is an absolute breeze. So that is the Necromages on a playthrough on normal. Would I recommend it? I probably would play through a Poison Necro instead of this on normal, and then look to swap when you get to Nightmare. But you know, it certainly can be done. You just have to bear in mind that you've got that frustration. The Ancients battle was fine, no problem with that. Duriel wasn't too bad. It really is just basically Diablo, Bale are the main two that are difficult. Mephisto wasn't too bad either, actually, to be fair. So it really is just the last two bosses where you do have the bulk of your difficulties. But provided you're willing to spend 15-20 minutes per fight max, you know, if you're a skilled player, if you get a little bit more luck, you know, it could be 10 minutes or under. And other than that, it's plain sailing. I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. I'm going to do the Summon Druid next. If there is anything you'd like me to look at on PTR with just a really casual, super budget, crappy gear kind of thing, because obviously I'm not like level 90 plus characters. I'm not super end game GG gear and all that kind of stuff. It's, you know, it's just not. I love this game. I have put a bunch of time in it, but I've spread it across all the characters and stuff. So if there is anything you would like me to cover, let me know. That's it. I've been Filthy Casual. I hope you enjoyed the video. Take it easy. Peace.